welcome to the second part of the sixth recording in the Azure demo series. So in this particular recording, the focus is on Azure Traffic Manager, because in the last recording, what we did was we deployed an Azure web app into the West Europe region, and then we created a deployment slot. And then we deployed, we published some code to both of them, and then we did a swap, and then we did a swap back. But that level of redundancy, or that level of how do I call it? That level of rollback is good, but there are certain situations where you want redundancy or load balancing across regions, where you're thinking of a situation where there's a disaster um, that affects a region where you're hosting your service, and you want your business to be able to continue. So part of your business continuity planning, you want cross-region load balancing and redundancy. So Traffic Manager is to your rescue in this particular case. So what are we going to be doing in this recording? So in this recording, I'll be deploying a web app into another region. We already have one in West Europe. I'll select a different region. And then I'll create a Traffic Manager profile, and then I'll add endpoints to that traffic manager. So the endpoint will be our web apps that are in different regions, and then we'll do some testing of the back of that. So again, the information that we're following here is this one. So it's the information that we've been following so far, but we'll just continue from exercise number 4. So first thing, deploy a web app into another region. Let's do that using PowerShell. So the goal to deploy web app into a different region using PowerShell. We'll deploy it into a new resource group, which will be that resource group, and then we'll download this publishing profile and publish a web app to it. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm logged in to my into my lab VM now, and I'll bring up PowerShell. If you're not already logged into PowerShell, ensure that you log into PowerShell. You already know the command, add Azure HRM account to log into PowerShell. First thing that I'll do is I'll get some of the content. So this is my existing web app, and that's in West Europe region. So what I'll do is I'll get the location. Let's go. So what I'll do is in this case, let's go back again. Let's run this command. Because what I want to be able to do is select a different location. So I'll be selecting East US in this case this time around. So I'll deploy into East US. So let's first of all bring this up. What I'm doing is I'm storing in this variable. I'm creating a new Azure resource group, and I'm calling the group instead of 0102, but I'm gonna put it in my second location, which will be East US in this case, and then press enter. And that should create my new resource group. If I go back to the Azure portal and I click on resource groups, I can see my new resource group here the first one I actually created in Central US. Look at that. So I've got this one in East US this time. So not in that region. So that's in East US. So let's move on. So the next thing I'll do is I'll create an app service plan. So if you remember from the last time, that's what defines a web server firm and the resources in it. So what we're saying is we're saying new Azure HRM app service plan, the location, which will be the location of this resource group. So we're referencing that variable.location, and then the tier will be standard, and that's the name of the plan, and we're specifying the resource group to deploy it into. So if I press enter to that should create my app service plan. So that may take a while to complete. I'll pause the recording. I'll come back once it finishes. Oh, that's it. It finishes. Okay, it finished. Sorry. So the next thing that we'll do is we need a unique name for our Azure web app. Remember the first one and that I did, I called it DO Azure Demo 01, and that has to be unique in the Azure website DNS zone. So what I'll do with this second web app is I'll, instead of calling it 01, I'll call it 02. And this is just a very good test that you can do to test if that name is available before you start putting it in your code. So if I go ahead and run that, it says true means it's available, false means it's not available. So that's good that it's available. If it's false for you, just change that name and keep trying to run it till you get a true result. So once that's true now, what I'll do is I'll create a new Azure web app with the service plan that we created earlier. So new Azure RM web app in our resource group. The web app name, I need to change that to the web app name that I tested just now. So let's go select that. And the location will be in our resource group location, and the service plan will be the service plan that we created earlier. So let's go ahead and run that. And after that finishes, I'll go to the portal to show you. So that there we go, it's already deployed. If I go back to the Azure portal, if I go back to app services, I have my new app service here and that's running. Now look at how quick that is. If I click on that, and then if I click on the URL, and there you go, it's a running web app. So what I can do now is I want to download this publish profile for this new web app that's in East US. So if I click get published profile, which is downloaded here, and what I'll do is I'll go to Visual Studio, and in this case I'll go to File, Open, Project Solution, and add a tool. So lab, ensure that you're on the lab 05 starter. Go on the Adatum website and select our original website. And then after opening it, I right click on here and then I click on publish. And then I'll create a new profile, import profile, publish, go on the download, select my new, that's 02, publish file. And then that should begin to publish it. And then once it finishes, I should have the code published into this other web app in the second region. So now it's an equivalent of we have a service published across two separate regions. And that's done. Let's go back to the URL. If I refresh that, and there we go. So we've got that for the first one. I'll close staging now, and we got that for the second one. So they're exactly identical websites. So what we'll do in this case is if I go to back to the Azure portal, next step of what we're doing is we're going to create a traffic manager profile. So let's go ahead and do that quickly. So what we'll do is we'll click on new and then search for traffic manager. And we should have traffic manager profile published by Microsoft come up. So if I select that and then click on create, it's going to ask me to specify a name. I'll call this DO Azure Demo Traffic Manager.net. I'll make a note of that name because we'll need it. And I'll make a note of the suffix also. And the name again has to be unique for that DNS zone. Okay, so routing method, again, if you want more details to this, refer to the Hangout series. So we can either select performance, which means it's going to direct the client to the web service that responds fastest from the location that that client is connecting from. So it uses an algorithm to calculate this, and then it can detect. And this is really good because let's say a particular web service is very busy and it's responsible relatively slowly. Traffic Manager can detect that, and based on its routing algorithm direct client into a separate region because that's responding faster at that point. So we'll leave this selected, we'll leave it performance. Weighted is different, priority is different. Priority means send it to one, and then if that one does not respond, then you can send to the other. Weighted means send a percentage to this, a percentage to that. Geographic means send it to this region based on the region they're coming from. So, but this time around, performances will do. Azure Pass. Resource group will use existing resource group, or actually no, let's create a new resource group, is what we'll do. And let's put our traffic manager profile in a separate resource group. So I'll leave that in West Europe, that's okay. And I'll go ahead and click create. So that will create my traffic manager. I'll pause the recording. Once it finishes, I'll be back. Oh, that's it, it's done. I can click on go to resource here, or I can always go under more services, search for traffic manager profiles, and then click on that. And then I can see my new traffic manager profile there. If I click on that traffic manager profile, I have the option called endpoints there. So that's where we can add different endpoints to. If I go ahead and click add and add endpoint, you can see the types of endpoints we can add. We can even add external endpoint. Even our on-prem systems, we can use traffic manager for them. If they are Azure endpoint, it's fine. We can add those. So those will be things like cloud service, web apps, um, public IP addresses, app service slots. So we can add even a slot, so we don't even have to add the app service itself. But in this case, we leave that as Azure endpoint. And for the name of the endpoint, this is what we'll do. We'll type in the name of our web app. So do Azure demo. And then target is app service. Choose the target. I'll select, let's see. So target resource, Azure demo 01. And let's see. So click OK to that. So while that is going on, I'll click on add again, and I'll add a new one. I'll call this Azure demo 02 or DO Azure demo 02. So I should have put 01 on the other one. I'll set that to app service, and I'll select my demo 02 app, and I'll go ahead and click OK. So let me see if I can actually go in, and I can't change the name. So that's all right. We'll just leave that. Doesn't matter in a way. So here we go. We have DO Azure demo and DO Azure demo. So these are pointing to our two web apps, and that's why we've configured them. So the next thing that we'll do is on the configuration here, we can see all the configurations that we did earlier. We can see the endpoint monitoring the traffic manager is using for that. So this option for DNS time to leave, we'll just change that so that our test will respond more quicker. So we'll change that from 300 seconds to 30 seconds. So when traffic manager returns a name, it's going to have a time to leave of 30 seconds. And then we'll go ahead and save that. So once we've done that, let's go ahead and test traffic manager now. And let's see how that will respond. So to do that, I'll be doing that for my test or lab machine. And what I'll do is I'll bring up the command prompt, and I'll do an NS lookup. NS lookup, and this time around what I'll search is for the name of the traffic manager, which is that name over there. What should happen is traffic manager will return the fastest region to respond to us will be what traffic manager will respond. So if I go ahead and press enter, you can see it's returning here do Azure demo traffic manager.net do Azure demo 01. So that's what we are getting. We're going to 01, not 02. So if I go ahead and run that, I'm going to 0, 1. What I'll now do is I'll go back under my endpoint. I'll pick 0, 1, which is the one I named demo there, but that's all right. And I'll disable it and then I'll save that. So I've disabled it and then I've saved that. And then if I go back to my command prompt, and then if I do another DNS query, now you can see that 0, 2 is the one that Traffic Manager is responding now, because then it's detected that it's disabled. Now it's going to return the other one. And that's how Traffic Manager does. And then if I go back and enable that, if I do an IP config flush DNS slash flush DNS, and then if I run that again, I can see 0, 1 is now back responding to us because that's the fastest region closest to us, and it seems to be responding faster as far as the traffic manager algorithm was able to calculate. So that's it. That's it for this particular lab. Before we go, we need to clean our environment. Let's not forget to do that. So it's the same command that we've been using so far. Remove 20533D environment. If I go ahead and run that, it's going to ask me to sign in. Sign in with my account. Put in my password. Which lab do we want to remove? We're currently in lab 5, so we'll type 5 there and press enter. It tells us we're going to be removing lab 5 and a resource group that stands with 20533D05. If we go back to the Azure portal under resource groups, that will be these 3 resource groups. So if I go ahead and type yes for proceed, and then it's going to start to delete all those resource groups and the resources in them. So I hope that was useful and informative for you. Again, do not forget this is strictly a demo series. For the theory, you have to refer to the Hangout series where we have good in-depth discussion, and there's even a different series that will be coming out shortly that I'm going to be giving the title of Deep Dive series. So you either refer to the Hangout series where we discuss the theory, or the Deep Dive series where we go even in more depth if you want the explanation of all this. So I'll see you in the next recording. Bye for now.